you're killing me over there. Welcome back to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast coming to you from Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown. 17 million views deep. The blue wave is waving across America, JJ. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
Producer John here.
Nice. Start off really quick. 24 years ago today, we lost in the line of duty Bob Stanzi. So shout out, prayers to the family, Michelle. It was a bad day in the St. Louis Police Department. So
Absolutely.
we're a great officer.
Yep.
Moment of silence.
Absolutely.
So as we get started tonight, we're going to keep with the theme of share, like, comment,
Absolutely.
and Venmo. You guys are on Venmo. Hey, producer John tells me you guys are coming on, keeping the show alive, keeping the blue wave rolling.
Definitely.
Producer John, what's our Venmo address?
It's Brighter Side of Blue. No,
At Brighter Side of Blue
on Venmo.
Very good.
on
At Brighter
Venmo.
Side.
Grassroots, do what you can do. Keep us rolling.
And we appreciate it.
We sure appreciate it.
And this thing's nothing without the original, and nothing against anybody that's tuned in, to our most recent shows, which is great. That we love the fact that we're gaining viewers, but that original, that first day when we released that on a Friday, and we just text our friends. That was our launch campaign. That was our launch campaign. Was to text our friends, and
Still is.
and it's grown in, and it's grown into this, which is really cool, and we appreciate all the support, and crush those likes and follows and all that good stuff, and it's really appreciated.
The Olympics are going on strong, and I'm loving it, all of it. I'm loving all of it. But there was a unique thing, and everybody's talking about it. This French pole vaulter, he missed a medal round because his pole hit the pole and knocked the pole off.
Here we got a video of it. Right
You got
here.
a video of it?
Everybody in the country's seen it.
Oh,
Oh,
it's unbelievable.
dude.
So he's been offered $250,000 to do a porn flick, and he turned it down. Yeah, he has, and he turned it down.
That's a different kind of pole vaulting.
So I'm kind of glad that he didn't medal, because if he got the gold medal, you couldn't put him on the cover of the Wheaties box. Not with that schwantz.
Did you see the guy that actually won the gold medal? This guy he's actually got dual citizenship, U.S. and Sweden. The guy that won the gold. Did you guys watch
In
that?
pole vault?
No, I just saw that on
It's
social
unreal.
media.
I mean, this guy is unreal. He keeps setting a world record.
No, I did see him. He speaks fluent English, and he's from.
he
but
could have did it for U.S. But he chose Sweden because he wanted to be the star of Sweden instead of just. There's so many stars in the U.S. team that
Yeah,
he's been one of many.
USA is kicking butt in the Summer Olympics this year.
Not paying much attention. Well,
Obviously.
that headline got my attention.
Yeah, that's a hard
That
one.
headline got my attention.
That's a
Actually, I guess his first movie, if he took that porn thing, would just be called The Pole Vaulter.
the pole vaulter.
No, JJ just can't take it.
But I think his dating list is he's
Oh yeah,
he's not going to be lonely.
he didn't get
Right.
a medal, but he won.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Let's just say that doesn't happen, and he wins like a silver medal. He gets nothing.
He's Mr. Irrelevant.
I think he did it on purpose.
Knocked the.
Your conspiracy theory. I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
I do too.
That
Wanted
could
to get
be.
known. He knew he
Absolutely.
couldn't win gold because the guy that wins gold
Right.
is dominant.
He knew
No one's
exactly
gonna beat
what
That's a
height.
good point. That's a good point.
He knew exactly what height to put it at.
He just wanted to show off his penis.
But what?
Put the vault. Okay. I want to jump at 18 feet 4 inches, and then I can use those other 2 inches to knock this thing off.
Right.
You know what? That's funny. Like when he was getting ready to do the pole vault, I didn't see a fluffer.
What are you talking? The fuck are you talking?
There is fluffers.
There are fluffers.
Oh my God.
That's a
Hey,
profession.
we need to
That's
go
a
in.
profession.
Yeah, I feel like JJ when we were talking about weed. I was like, we need to move on.
Right.
Oh, we do need. I'm
I don't
sorry.
know how that started.
Slowly.
Actually, it's funny.
It is. It is. I feel bad about that. What the hell happened at our local casino with Nelly?
Oh, poor Nelly. The Nelly went to the casino and then just came out that he was arrested for ecstasy and a failure to appear warrant or no insurance.
Okay.
But it was a warrant. And of course, right away, and Scott Rosenblum, who I get along with over the years, immediately puts out a thing blaming the police. It's all the police department's fault. So what apparently happened is that he won a jackpot, needed to go collect it. There was an officer there, and for one reason or another, whether it was because he didn't have an ID or there was the laws of the casino, they had to run him. And they ran him. He's got a warrant. Hey, nothing against the troopers, but sometimes the troopers, live in rural areas, and this guy might even not have known Nelly. Mm-hmm. Everybody's, oh, he's Nelly. You got to know who he is. But sometimes you don't. And even if it was, the rules are rules. Well, he's wanted for that, and so then they search him, and they find some ecstasy. No big deal. But what they don't mention is that warrant that he had for no insurance. I got information that he also was speeding and didn't have a driver's license that day, and then didn't have insurance. So the officer gave him a warning on the speeding and the
driver's license.
Driver's license, yeah. That Alabama
kicked in.
Well, he gives him a break on those, but he gives him the insurance one because all you have to do is prove insurance. They throw the thing out, right?
Right.
Well, then, he doesn't have ID there, so the officer just puts down the address that he gives. Not going to verify that. And now Rosenblum's saying that the police department didn't send it to the right address, all this other stuff. And, it just, and that's why we started the podcast, right, is that because people just like to blame the police for shit. And then, what are you blaming us for? The guy's working at the casino, following some sort of procedures and rules. And then the next thing you know, the police are the bad guys.
That's not like Scott Rosenblum.
I like Nelly. I have nothing against him, but he's got the money. I mean, who cares? Why is it got to be? Why do we want to bring it in public eye? And why is Rosenblum got to get involved? Just pay your fine and be done.
Right.
Although he's one of the most famous defense attorneys around. He's usually very pro police.
It cost him more. I guess maybe. He had to pay Rosenblum way more than it was going to cost him
to pay the insurance.
That insurance ticket just rose. The price of that thing rose.
Well, Nelly's father used to live, I don't know if he still does, in the 4800 block of Labadie or something. I mean, he used to be, I'm sure he's not there now, but I remember was a young policeman, that's Nelly's dad's house.
Yep.
He had nice cars out back
and real quick before we go forward, just what's coming up. I know we got a lot more stuff to talk about, but what's coming up, we had Clarence Hines and Steve Burle on. They were longtime partners in several different units. And they talked about some of their better cases that they've worked, what units they were in, gave some respect to the people that told them or that mentored them, taught them how to be policemen. And they expressed their friendship that they've made over the years and the special bond between partners. And it was a cool interview. So, I just wanted to mention that up front. So keep waiting for that because we still got a lot of shit to talk about.
Snap and Pop.
Yep.
Tubbs and Crockett.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good. It was a good interview. They're very, very, very good.
That was fun.
I call them Tubbs and Pop.
Tubbs and Pop. Stop. Just
stop with your bullshit.
Just stop. But since you did speak up, Producer John, do you have that's not Producer John. You have a one-legged bank robber.
Oh, that was we were talking, and what we're going to try to start doing is just telling different stories
from our careers.
Yeah, just from our careers, whether they're ours or not.
Talking about the Lindo Bank one?
Yeah. So, and even though they're not our stories, and we want to encourage the policemen that listen, the policemen's wives that listen, to send us some funny stories. We'll tell them on the air because we do love to have fun and laugh. And there's tons of stories out there.
And if you attach it to a Venmo, there's a lot better chance.
Exactly. It becomes funnier.
A lot funnier.
But we encourage everybody to, and if you go on our webpage, on the bottom right, there's a microphone. And you can hit that microphone and leave a voice message, and Jack gets it, and he can give it to us. So if you don't really feel like typing, but you got to keep your shit under a minute. If it's a little longer,
I like
send
that.
us an email. But
Producer John, a big weekend down at Schicker Automotive. We got information from them. If you're in the market for an SUV, the Bronco Sport,
the
Escape.
You can't escape in Escape.
You can escape in an escape with 2.9% interest for 72 months.
On the escape.
And hey, Schicker Automotive Group's a huge sponsor of this podcast, but they're a huge supporter of law enforcement. We've talked about that. They're a family-run business. They also sell Dodge and Jeep, so you just don't have to buy a Ford. They sell Dodge and Jeep. So they're one of our partners, and they're huge in this community.
Always have been.
Yeah, and so thank you to the Schickers for that. Go down there, see them. First Saturday of the month, you can go down there and drive the test drive a car, and they'll put money towards the Make-A-Wish Foundation. $25 just to drive a car.
Because you took a spin in a car.
Yeah, they pay.
Right.
That's pretty good. So thank you for the Schicker Automotive Group.
I went down last week and drove every car in the lot.
Is that a stipulation?
I think they're kind of mad at me now.
They're actually going out of business.
They owe the Make-A-Wish Foundation $7,000.
From
Producer
John.
you left White Castle in one of the cars.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That's not all I left.
They're speaking of family, and the Schicker Automotive Group is one big family, and they're part of the law enforcement family. I had just an unbelievable story. I'm calling it Pork Steak Gate.
Okay.
You got me? Can you say that 3 times fast?
Yeah, no. I got that Alabama push pop is
killing you now.
Don't be making me say shit fast.
Pork steak gate.
Good job,
Pork
Producer
steak
John.
gate.
So one of my best friends, he lives down the street from Mama Howard, #1 fan. He's grilling on a Weber kettle. He put 6, this is just the other day, 6 beautiful pork steaks on a Weber kettle. He's going in and out. He lives alone. And in and out, comes back out, bastes them.
Why is he making 6 if he lives alone? But go ahead.
Well, he's got a company
Leftovers.
coming over. He lives alone, but he's got people coming over.
I got you.
Mr. Literal. Hey, Lieutenant Wikipedia, let me tell the story.
Sorry.
Let's get a fact check on that.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
If you live alone, you can't have anybody over, Producer John.
No,
ever.
you have to be in solitude.
Every story goes a little longer than we thought.
Yeah, it does. Because of JJ.
I don't know
Anyway,
if it's just because of him. It's just in every story.
Flips the pork steaks,
Carry it on.
goes back in, gets some more Malls, St. Louis Malls barbecue sauce, puts them on there, goes back in, comes out, and every pork steak's gone.
Gone.
Off the grill, stole.
He got dog?
Squirrels?
No squirrels. No squirrels. They were just stolen.
He ain't got no dog.
No dog. He put the lid back on. It was a logistical strike.
Wait a minute. Go ahead. Is this solved? Is this unsolved mystery?
No, it's not to this day unsolved. He found out later it's his estranged brother that's kind of out of the family. And he was furious.
He'd been waiting years for that opportunity where he left the pork steaks unattended
And cooked.
and he swooped in.
Were they done?
That's exactly, JJ. So my buddy Kurt was so furious, and I got to chuckling because I was like, you can't be mad. This was beautifully orchestrated. He waited till they were cooked, a couple more bastings, and he stole them.
That was a practical joke?
No.
His brother's down on his luck, huh?
Down on his luck. But he went to wherever he was down on luck, and 5 other people ate pork steaks.
Good.
I don't know if he shares. If he's down on his luck that bad, that's some
yeah.
leftovers.
But anyway, I
Did
just thought
Kurt have a
storm.
cooler out there too? Did he
take the
did he
beer? No, I don't think so. But
Okay, thank
but
God.
it was I don't know. I just got a kick out of that.
No, I mean,
stealing
that-
pork steaks
That is a
at
crime.
the perfect time
That
off
is
the
a
grill.
crime.
Well, it doesn't always, I mean, I really feel bad for Kurt for losing all those pork steaks. But back in the 80s, there was an incident on Cherokee Street where a guy was, same thing, he's barbecuing his pork steaks. He went inside to get something. Well, it was a 2-family flat. Well, the guy upstairs took his fishing rod with a big treble hook. And
That is not
Well,
true.
it's true. It was in the paper. Look it up. Call Dodge. And he was reeling it up. Well, the guy went in and got his pistol and shot the guy. He didn't kill him, but
Sent the message.
it was the message. You don't mess with the guy's pork steaks. And I'm sure Kurt would have done the same thing if he would have caught
Everybody saw his brother.
his brother doing it. But do not, if you take all the time to baste and marinate and lovingly cook this pork steak, you don't steal that from somebody.
You don't.
It's
do
part
that.
of their soul at that point.
Now,
So
isn't
there's a
pork
complaint
steak-
number. Somebody who got shot over fishing a pork steak.
Now, I'm impressed with this is fishing prowess. Of
Yes,
being-
exactly.
Being
That's
able
pretty
to snag it and get it
That's
up.
what
there.
I'm getting at.
I mean,
That's
isn't
skill.
pork steaks kind of a St. Louis thing?
Oh yeah.
People
Is
from all over the country are going to know what the hell's a pork steak.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a combination of two different cuts
No.
that
Do
the
we have to
butchers in
explain
St.
what a pork
Louis
steak is?
cut
Yeah.
a different way. So
no.
yeah, you can't get a pork steak in like Pittsburgh.
California, they don't even know what you're talking about. Pork steak.
It's true.
Oh, Colorado, they don't know what you're talking about.
They're missing out because they're good.
Oh, a friend of ours down in Texas,
Yeah.
Pops.
Pops.
But he had no idea pork steak. Well, you got to try one. He goes, what the hell is it? And that's why they're so inexpensive. It's kind of a lower cut. I mean, but we love
But
it.
you make it right though. It's
People
good.
are stealing them. People are stealing them,
Remember
fishing
when-
them.
Good enough to steal.
Remember when we took Pops that gooey butter cake that one time?
Yeah.
And when we caught him in the middle of the night and he was eating gooey butter cake, but he was lathering more butter on top of it. And it's like, this thing can already kill you out of the box. You cannot put more butter on this damn thing. But he lived.
That was some seriously well orchestrated logistics in stealing those pork steaks.
When they're
crazy.
done.
But
weird
like
he
you
was-
said, it's still a crime.
Well, he had to be peeked like around, like in
Yeah,
a
that's
tree
what I
around the corner and going, they think them things are done yet?
That's weird.
It
It's lucky no one called the police. It's like this guy creeping around your house.
Well, we got called the police when the guy got shot for fishing
Right.
a pork steak. Enough about the pork steaks. That
Pork
crime.
steaks.
What's going on with YSL?
Oh, so it could be going back next week. So there's a lot of stuff going on. This new judge ain't playing, and she's not.
She's gonna ruin it.
Yeah, she's gonna fuck up our whole content, all kinds of Woody content, because I think she's gonna make it a mistrial. Because the prosecutors are just, I mean, it's just the whole thing, just as we said, is an embarrassment to the whole legal system. And but this gal that is the judge now, she ain't playing no bullshit. And and I have a feeling she's going to go ahead and make this a mistrial. What do you think, JJ?
I don't know. Well, that's a tough call, but he can't. There's no way that guy Woody can just get on the stand and act like he did. There's no way.
No,
she'll-
I don't think she can put up with that.
No way.
Yeah, it's disrespectful.
It
It's
is.
not going to happen.
But if it does go, we will have our updates.
Have
But
some updates.
I think this is going to be a mistrial. And Woody's out there. He's on all kinds of social media with stacks of money. And I mean,
Dude, that guy's lucky he's not been shot yet.
it's just
No doubt.
amazing. It's
Snitch.
just amazing. And he had 17 hours of
Testimony.
what do we call them? I don't want to call it snitching because it's such a hard word.
Talking.
Of testimony to the police.
Yeah.
Cooperating witness
Yeah, exactly.
And
testimony.
And now he got scared because his name was out there as a snitch, so he decided to play a fool, and the judge let him play an absolute
The old
fool.
judge. The old judge.
yeah.
Uncle
I
Phil.
don't- Uncle Phil. Also, somebody
He's kind of
I
like
found
Woody's kind of like Omar from the show The Wire.
Oh, yeah.
is he? I've never seen that
Oh,
show.
it's great. Omar was bad. Omar wasn't
He's a
a
bad
snitch,
dude.
but everybody's afraid of him, dude.
I don't think anybody's. Well, actually, Woody was one of their assassins.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I could see that. I can see that comparison.
Wow.
I've got an assassin story for the newsroom later.
Do you really?
See?
Oh yeah,
See?
good segue.
There you
All
go.
right. Do you want to go to it now, or
I have to do it after Zen.
Oh yeah, it's tradition. But I'm going to regress 1 second. Do you think those pork steaks would have been stolen if Campbell Security Group was on the job?
Absolutely not.
Great.
Because if you would have had, that's a good one. That's
Better
a good
segue.
transition.
Better segue.
That is
good.
perfect.
That
I
was
don't think they would have, because if that neighborhood, if Kurt wanted to get with his neighborhood association and had police rolling around, Corby can handle that. He can handle corporate security, personal security, neighborhood security, CampbellSecurityGroup.com, and Corby will take care of you. So that's a tremendous segment. You're getting good at this shit.
Corby would have had the pork steaks back on the grill before Kurt knew they were stolen.
Exactly. Finished them up himself. I flipped them for you.
Those are
I
good.
flipped
Those
them.
are good.
I flipped them for you.
They're at 165.
I worked with Corby's people yesterday.
Did you?
Did you?
He had he hired his own. The AB had a big thing at the soccer stadium for their big wigs throughout the country, and I worked in. He had two officers that aren't from the city that work for him that were there for security.
Yep. I think I think he does some security for the Bushes.
Absolutely. he does.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, he did this one. It was a big deal. And he had 2 guys from Troy. I mean, they're just officers in Lincoln County and Troy, but he hires them.
Right.
And,
People that can actually get off and work
Yeah.
without the city policemen that are just
but he
completely
did a good
overtime.
job. And he's well respected. The head of security for AB, Loves, Corby. So
No, he's a strong supporter of the
Yep.
show, and it's
Great
huge
man.
for us.
CampbellSecurityGroup.com for all your security needs.
Nice. While you have the mic,
yes,
what do you have for us? Do you have any?
I do.
All right,
Actually,
well,
it's
hold
going
on.
to be appropriate.
Let me get the music going.
Very
Let me feel
appropriate.
this.
Can I talk? It's very appropriate for who we interviewed the 2 partners. It's true friends. Fuck.
That's pretty good, JJ.
No. I got. Cut that out. True friends are like stars. You can only recognize them when they're surrounded by darkness. True friends are like stars. You can only recognize them when you're surrounded by darkness.
That is a good one
And
for
Burley
That's
said
a good
something
one for
about
our
it.
guest
Good
today.
for you, yeah.
Yeah,
Burley said when he was going through a hard time, he talked to Clarence and
Your friends come out.
yeah, that's a good one for the show.
It's almost weird that but I was going to do a different one because this came from my brother he's a big Bob Marley guy, and so my other one I was going to use.
Me too.
Well then, so I was looking through Bob Marley's quotes, and I was going to use it on a different one, which I'll probably use next week. But come across this one, I thought that was really good, and then just worked
Very
out.
appropriate.
Bob Marley, huh?
Yeah,
See?
dude, I went down a rabbit hole today on
With Bob Marley?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Is it good?
yeah, it's good. You'd like it. He's got some great
I like
quotes,
that kind of
but,
stuff.
yeah.
Yep.
But what a cool.
I like his music too.
Right.
That was pretty good too.
That's the lyrics of the other one. The next week I'm going to have one where there's a real short one with his lyrics to a song.
I bet you he's a fan of the Alabama Push Pop.
Yeah, I guarantee he is.
He'd be proud of me today.
Yeah.
I'm battling through this.
Hey, we'll be the judge of that. Producer John,
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
what are you sitting on over there? Some
Come on.
newsroom.com?
I am. But, lately I've been prefacing newsroom.com with some
Public service announcements?
Yeah, some of the events that we're interested in. And all these are not new, but I'm just going to remind our listeners, North Patrol Division Golf Tournament, which Steve Burley, our guest later, is involved in. Tuesday, September 17th at Forest Park. Get a hold of Sergeant Becker, 314-444-0050. The Hooties Rescue Haven Golf Tournament.
Russ Johnson
that we talked about, which is October 6th at Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge. Russ's number is 314-805-7742. Great cause. They need a lot of help out there. And then an event that we're all going to participate in, where the proceeds go to Backstoppers, the St. Louis Classic Rock Trivia Night, which is Saturday, November 2nd, at the IBEW Local 1 on Elizabeth. StLouisTrivia.com. You go there to find out more about that event. And we're gonna probably win that trivia.
I would imagine.
we're gonna go huge on this.
It's all music trivia.
Alabama Push Pops will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just get Tom all tuned up, and he'll be ready to go.
I'll be recalling knowledge left and right.
Recalling knowledge.
recalling knowledge.
Recalling knowledge.
He's got
Knowledge is no
he's got
good
a
if
memory,
you can't
too.
recall.
Otherwise known
Right.
as memory.
He's got a great memory too.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Now we're getting into Producer John's newsroom.com. Like I said a few minutes ago, we have not talked about assassins or hitmen that I remember since
yet.
we've been in there.
The Petties.
But that was all part of a bigger criminal,
Enterprise.
enterprise.
This is all this guy did was assassinate people.
Yeah, he didn't sell drugs, as far as I know. Charles Harrelson was a famous hitman who, I guess his claim to fame is he killed a sitting U.S. Judge.
A federal judge?
Federal judge. And now, according to what you read, apparently maybe back in the day, like in the 17 or 1800s, maybe a few federal judges were killed. But at least during, this last couple of centuries, Charles Harrelson was the only one to kill a sitting federal judge. And just up some background, he was from Texas, born in 1938. He went in the Navy briefly. He got discharged. He was kind of a wonder. He ended up in Los Angeles where he did some robberies. Got out of that. He ended up in Houston, and he was a full-time gambler, but he needed money, so he decided to be.
Most gamblers do.
That's important.
Yeah.
So he decided to become a hitman. Now he claims that he did a bunch of murders for hire that he never got charged with, but in the 70s he got arrested a couple times, but he did get convicted of killing a grain dealer named Sam Diglia Jr. He got paid $2,000 for it. He ended up getting a 15-year sentence.
That's it.
Yeah, and he got out after 5 years for good behavior.
Stuff back then too.
So apparently nobody really
What year
cared
is
about
this?
73. So by 1979, this Texas drug lord named Jimmy Chagra, he was a big time marijuana. He apparently at the time he was like the biggest marijuana salesman in the country, or one of the big ones. He got indicted. He was going to court, and the judge was named Judge John H. Woods Jr. And his nickname was Maximum John because he always
Give you the maximum.
give you the maximum. So
That's a
Jimmy
great
knew
name.
Yeah.
Maximum John. I might change my name to that.
Producer Maximum John.
Maximum Producer John Jr. And anyway, he Jimmy knew he was going to get hammered on this one, so he went out and found Charles Harrelson and offered him $250,000 to kill Maximum John. So Charles Harrelson went. He had a high-powered rifle with a scope, and he ended up shooting. And this is kind of bad, but he shot the poor guy in the back, getting in his car while he was leaving his house right before this trial started. So, he killed the judge, and he fled. This big manhunt went on, and everybody kind of figured it was something to do with Chagra because, he's getting ready to start trial. And I think actually the feds were listening to some of his jailhouse talk, and between him and his brother, and they found out where Charles Harrelson was, and after a manhunt and a long standoff, Charles Harrelson was captured. Now the interesting part of this, this is interesting already.
Yeah.
But while this was all going on, Charles Harrelson's 20-year-old son started hearing details about this case on the radio. And he wondered, since he had the same last name, he thought maybe he was related. So the son, Woody Harrelson,
The Cheers guy?
the Cheers guy, asked his mother, he goes, "Is this my dad?" And she says, "Yes, it is your father." Now, he left the family when Woody was a little boy, like 4 or 5 years old, so he never really knew him. But anyway, Woody took a big interest in this case, especially knowing that that was his father, and he ended up getting in touch with him because Woody was like in his early 20s when this happened, and they built a friendship. Woody never called it like a relationship like father-son because, he abandoned him when he was a kid. But they became friends, and Woody said that, that Charles was like one of the most interesting people he ever met, very articulate, very intelligent. And over the years, Woody ended up spending about $2 million of his own money trying to get Charles a retrial, and it was to no avail. So, Woody said, and here's a quote from Woody, from a People magazine interview. He says, "I don't feel he was much of a father. He had no valid part in my upbringing, but my father is one of the most articulate, well-read, charming people I've ever known. Still, I'm just gauging whether, he merits loyalty or friendship." so he took him to be more of a friend than a father.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually, Charles Harrelson got married in the prison to some woman he met, outside the prison, and Woody actually stood up for his father at the
Wedding.
Was his best man?
Yeah. So Charles Harrelson was getting older, and he actually confessed to killing John Kennedy, and it was debunked. But and later he said that because there are reports that he was there the day that Kennedy
Really
got killed. Because there's a famous picture with they call them like the three vagrants or something, 3 people in a picture, and Charles was one of those people that were there.
Wow.
But later he told the Associated Press that he just made that up just to extend his life, to thinking that he would get some more time on Earth, because they were investigating that. Anyway, that all got dropped, and in 2007, Charles Harrelson died of a heart attack in prison.
Was he on death row?
No, he got 2 life sentences plus 20 years or something. He didn't get the death penalty, which is kind of crazy.
Woody Harrelson's dad.
Woody
Murderer.
Harrelson's dad, yeah.
Wow.
That was twists and turns.
That
one had me.
That was a
who is
good
this
one.
guy? And then all of a sudden, Woody Harrelson pops in, and I started thinking. I just started thinking of Cheers episodes.
Right. Well, I always
lost
heard
it.
that he had a father who was in the penitentiary.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
And that's what it was for.
What would Sheriff Grady say about this story?
He probably
Sheriff
wouldn't-
Drake. Now
I
we're
got.
still in.
I have one
Probably
last
wouldn't be
question.
pleased.
No, go ahead.
What's
Hold
the
on.
point of shooting a judge, though? It's not going to change the case.
Well, because he was maximum
Yeah,
John.
he's maximum. He didn't want no maximum.
He's trying to get like
Right, he's
medium
like, I don't
range,
give a
John.
fuck.
He wanted
Come on, dude.
he
Not a federal
he wanted
judge.
minimum
You're
John.
screwed, dude. I mean, you shoot a judge, you're done. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
The next judge becomes maximum Pete.
You just can't.
I find JJ analyzing everything tonight.
Yeah.
He's overanalyzing tonight, isn't
He's
he?
on a question mode.
Are you all right, JJ?
Yes, I am fine.
But Grady Judd, we're still in conversations with Grady and his people. I think, John, you got a call with him Monday or something?
Really?
Yeah, just he's a very busy man. I talked to the gentleman that's his public relations guy. The judge is just
The judge.
I'm still back. No, but
He's busy, man.
the sheriff is they're trying to get us on his schedule.
Right.
Wow.
So one of the things that I want to say is that we're going to play a clip here in a minute, and
Okay.
and he's made a whole. All the sheriffs in Florida now are just trolling criminals, and they're doing live shots on the streets when they steal cars. But it was started by Grady, but now all these guys are like, "What? If he's getting elected with 96% every
I need
freaking
to do
election,
that."
I'm going to do that."
Yeah, yeah.
So now they're trying to outdo each other. They're putting music to stuff, and
It's a great state.
yeah, I mean, it's just, and they just have fun. Now they're just trolling criminals. It's awesome.
Oh my God.
He asked for a gunfight. We gave him a gunfight. And he'll never be in another gunfight again because he's dead, like he asked for. And we obliged him.
That's
Yep.
just telling it straight right
No,
there.
when you screw up in Polk County, he does he also does a thing that it's coffee with Grady. I think that's what it's called. But I don't know if it's every morning, but he just sits there and he'll put up the picture of people. Like back in the day, if the people got caught for being in a prostitution, but not the prostitute, but the Johns.
Yeah.
And they used to put their name in the paper to try to embarrass them.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this guy does it every morning. He just puts a picture of some people up there and go, "This is what these idiots did."
Wow.
And he just, obviously the people love him, 96%. Can't wait to have him on.
So when I was working in the Vice unit, that's reminded me of this. When I was in the Vice unit undercover, we decided to come up with a bright pink postcard, and every John that we arrested, we're trying to think outside the box to stop. Prostitution's one thing, but there wouldn't be prostitutes if there wasn't Johns. Maximum Johns.
Maximum.
But anyway, so we came up with an idea to come up with these bright pink postcards, and on the postcards, you'd write, "Hey, Maximum John, this is a reminder for your court date for patronizing prostitution. St. Louis court date on this date and time," and that would be just exposed on the postcard. and we would send it to the houses. And, you know, this is the wives, kids.
Pink slip.
Perfect.
Yeah, what's this pink slip? Patronizing prostitution. And I don't know if they
opening
still,
the letter. There's no
no,
opening a
it's
letter.
a postcard.
Right.
And so, boy, we got some feedback from that. So I don't know if they still do that or not.
I don't
That
think
made me
so.
think.
I don't know if
They
they're
don't do that anymore.
I don't know. I doubt it.
Do they have a vice division still?
Yeah, they don't even have a vice
Let's not
division.
get
do they?
into all that.
What'd you do with your pink card? Postcard.
I just that's my buddies are messing with me.
So I was
Yeah,
talking
those
to,
guys,
real
those
quick. I
characters.
was
ahead.
talking to Tony Rass last week, and Archie Shaw obviously talked very highly of Tony, and I just called him to say how cool that was.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know, when I call policemen or when I'm talking to policemen, and it's just they tell funny stories that happened in the past, and we really want to do. Open up the communications between the policemen that listen, policemen's wives that listen, and anybody that's had a funny story with the police. And there's a little microphone on the bottom of our webpage on the right, and you can leave a funny story if you can keep it under a minute. If not, you know, email us, because we want to tell other people's funny stories too, because you always don't have, I mean, we got funny stories, but all policemen have funny stories, and we just want the ones that are shorter, you know. But anyway, but this is how the example is that I'm talking to Tony last week, and he recalled a quick incident where he had to go to the VA hospital him and Larry Purvis had to go to the VA hospital to interview a doctor. So they go to the front desk, and there's a lady sitting there, and they tell her, "Hey, we got to go see Dr. So-and-so." And she says, "Well, you're going to have to dial the operator." And she hands him a phone. She puts it in front of him, and they dial the operator. And when they dial the operator, she slides 3 feet to the left, opens up her phone, or picks up the phone and says, "Operator." So those are, I mean, you just can't make. And I slid to the right. Did you notice that?
Yeah, you did. And you said
That's right in the middle of it. I slid.
That's
to
a
the
nice
right.
visual, Tom.
that was very good.
That's that Alabama stuff.
It's time for Clarence and Steve, partners, longtime partners.
Great, and just a fun interview.
And I think everybody's going to enjoy them.
Yep.
Some good stories and some good partners.
Absolutely, and that's what this whole thing's about: is partnership, camaraderie, letting people know what it's really like to be a policeman. Insights on partnerships, and Jimmy and his partners over the last, you know, with Brad Owens and Jimmy Long, and you with Lay Shock, and we haven't even gotten into some of the partners that I've written with over the years and how special it is. And these two just exemplify that. And they've written together in 3 different units, and you hear that, and it was really cool because you could really tell how much they meant to each other over the years.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Burle got choked up he's getting ready to retire.
So did Clarence.
Yeah, they both did.
And that's great for
That's awesome.
That means a lot.
That means
Genuine.
a lot to us too, is because that's why we want to do this podcast, is to show you that we are human.
Yeah.
And feelings come out. You know, last week when I was talking about the school shooting people, it gets emotional.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you are proud that you were a policeman. And these guys show it, and it was a great interview. It was fun, and we thank them for coming in. And as always,
enjoy.
The communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live.
Stay safe out there.
Yeah, you ain't got shit to say.
I got shit.
Goodbye,
everybody.
Good night.
Enjoy
Peace.
it. Peace.
Welcome back to the brighter side of blue. As promised, our segment with it's partner week, right, producer John?
It's partner week, yes.
It's partner week, and we have who do we have on, Tom?
St. Louis is Crockett and Tubbs, baby.
Crockett and Tubbs.
No, it's Poppins.
Steve Burle and Clarence Hines, and they've been on for quite some time. We don't need to
Steve's
get
been
into
on
all
35
that.
years.
35.
Clarence did 20, and now he's the director of the police academy.
Right. Mr. I don't want to get into stats, throwing out stats.
No. I didn't mean that. But go ahead.
No.
Crockett and Tubbs. That's not what they called you on the street. So what did they call you guys?
We refer to snap and pop.
Who's snapping? Who's pop? You guys ever figured out?
Flip a quarter.
Depending on the day. Some days Steve would snap, and some days Clarence would snap.
Hey, I want to give him a proper introduction, though.
Okay.
These two made their bones in Mobile Reserve.
Oh,
as partners.
jeez.
There we go.
It only took
Yeah.
1 minute
I
to
was
get to
a-
Mobile
I
Reserve.
was the new guy. Just got out 3 years, 3.5. And I was sent to their squad with Speece. I was a young
Chief
guy.
Speece.
And these guys, Chief Speece, and they had
Hey, Steve
more
and
time.
Clarence, thanks for coming on.
Anyway, but no,
JJ, come here.
I
cut
used them
JJ's
as
mic.
they were mentors for a minute. Then I realized I should probably get better mentors.
That ain't right.
No, I'm just joking.
Here we go. Welcome
No,
to
no.
the show.
They were good.
Wow.
So hey, buddy.
No, but what? And they've been partners in several different units. So a lot of times there's partners that when you're in a district for a long period of time, or when you're in a specialized unit for a long period of time. But you guys were in 3 different units together. What units were those, Clarence?
Yeah, so we were partners in housing, mobile reserve, and the old violent crime task force.
So the old violent crime. So that was back in when?
That was 94, I think.
It was back there.
One of the original ones.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was the original
Was
Violent
producer
Crime Task
John
Force.
there?
Ironically, he was in the first iteration of.
Listen to that.
I know that's a big word.
That was
That's-
huge.
Can you look that up
Director
for
of the
me?
Academy.
Right.
JJ just-
Iteration.
JJ just got stunned.
Spell that, Steve.
Iteration. What the hell?
Clarence,
I can't do that.
I didn't iterate anybody.
You'll go blind.
So yeah, producer John actually was in the first. There was a first group, and then we came in after that. I think that's kind of how that happened.
Yeah,
And then you guys went to Mobile from there, right?
we did. Yes.
Yes.
Because you guys all, I mean,
Combined.
that whole unit went to Mobile at one time, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
All the squirrel squads and everything all got
And
moved
that was
out.
the part of the
Yeah.
Big
big
move.
move to Mobile.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, and you know what? Ironically, about our partnership, we actually in the old violent crime task force.
What do you mean by
violent
partners?
crimes? So we initially started off riding with 2 different people, and we actually asked to ride together. First time, only time in my career I've actually asked to be partners with somebody. So we kind of had this off partner chemistry. I'm not sure how well it was working.
Worked out well for
It
quite some
wasn't
time.
working out in other
Who was
places.
the good cop, bad cop? You guys play that ever? I can
So
guess.
yeah. No, so you would be
Really?
surprised.
I didn't say I was gonna guess you, but I could probably guess.
So
I mean,
All right, I know the good cop was Clarence and the bad cop was always got to be Burle. I'm just guessing.
Absolutely,
can't-
absolutely incorrect.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
not accurate. I can't let my
like-
man take all
I
that.
like it. So you
It's
took
not
turns.
true.
and then you went on to housing and you worked for producer John, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
You had fun, huh?
I mean, more fun than you should be allowed to have at work.
That's
great.
pretty cool.
Right.
But those are
No, I'm not
units-
kidding. I'm not just saying that. We had more fun than you should be allowed to have at work.
Yeah, Clarence and Steve and I have been talking the last couple of weeks, get ready for the show, but it was a special time. I was on 20 years, worked in intelligence and I had big jobs and stuff. But this, starting from scratch in housing, and you guys came on very early in the game, and it was a special group of people, and we had a task to do, and we did it, and it was, it took a lot, took a lot of effort, but we all enjoyed working together, and we had a lot of fun together, both during the shift and then a lot of times after the shift, but
No.
it was just a special group of people.
Well, I remember because I stayed in Mobile when they went to housing, and Leshock took over as lieutenant. And I remember hearing that we weren't allowed to go into the housing projects anymore. That was off limits to us because housing-
Leshak was the commander of
he
the
said,
housing.
You don't want us. And we used to go in there because that was always a good, I hate to say a better word, but a good honey hole. If you need to make a arrest, you go through there.
Yeah.
Kids would run, and it was out of control. But they cleaned it up so good, it was unreal how good they did. And Leshock said, I don't need your guys. I don't need Mobile's help. I don't need anybody's help. I got the team
No.
that
Yeah,
can do
and
it.
we knew if we were going to get respect down there, we had to do it ourselves. We didn't want anybody else's.
How many housing complexes did you guys take over?
4.
Yeah, we had 4, and we were tasked with patrolling them 365 days a year from 10 a.m. till 2 a.m.
Okay.
So we were exempt from details, but we worked. I mean, we were there. We were
Right.
always there. And
Well, I think one of the things that you guys, in talking to that original housing people, the original guys and JJ, you guys took pride in the way you guys cleaned that whole area up and did what you guys did to it.
Yeah, I remember the first night, our very first night, when we actually rode in for the first time. And we had been in mobile and violent crime and really gone after some of the most dangerous people in the city. And yet, the first night we rode into that complex, I could not believe what was happening. I just was like, is this real? Right? It was just open air drug sales. It was just so blatant. And I was like, man, why do we do
Yeah, it was
this?
bad.
But it was bad. It was very bad.
there were several nights that in an 8-hour shift, we would fill the cruiser with 6 to 8 people 3-4 times in an 8-hour shift.
Well, you know,
And when I say we, I mean the entire unit.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and that went on for quite some time. And before long, it started to get to the point where the people who wanted to live there and who had to live there, they would come out more and they would venture away from their apartment where they weren't prisoners anymore.
yeah, they had
And that was nice.
the kids started using the
Right.
playground equipment.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I think it
we
was
talked
brought up
about
in the
that.
last. I know
Yeah.
Leishak brought that up.
But
Yeah.
but you know what worked though, you guys, is because we were in LaSalle first, and we weren't allowed to go in the Peabodys. So the Peabody, you know, they thought we were a joke, you know, just like, oh, these guys were in LaSalle. And that first night we went in the Peabodys, we parked like a block or two away, and we walked in, and we started popping out of gangways and stuff, and it just completely frazzled everybody down there who was up to any no good. They didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they're accusing us of cheating. It's like, this is,
Cheating.
you guys are cheating. You can't sneak up on us.
I think it's important for our listeners in Boxwani, producer John, what were the names of the 4 housing complexes?
Oh, there's LaSalle,
LaSalle Housing Complex.
which is right, you know, a little bit east of the Peabodys. Peabodys is down there at Shoto and 14th, basically. You know, if you go downtown, you've probably driven past.
Don't
there.
even realize
Yeah,
what's going on in there.
yeah, and then we got the Cochran's, which was north of the dome, right there by the old TWA dome or whatever
Okay.
it's called at the time. And then we had the Blue Myers, which was up at Grand and Franklin.
Yeah, Grandin Cook, Grandin Franklin
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, so they were all just, pretty wild, and that's why the housing authority, St. Louis Housing Authority, spent the money. Our salaries were paid by them. So actually the city police department got 40 free police officers because
Yep.
they weren't paying our salary.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like Steve said, we didn't. 4th of July, we didn't have any details. We didn't work parades. We didn't work World Series celebrations. We worked just in those 4 complexes.
Pretty cool.
What a transformation.
Yeah, and then, like I said, these guys worked, and the guys that went down there, and like they just had a
Handpicked?
pride to them. They were handpicked by Leishak and John and the rest of the sergeants, and they didn't have to be begged to come down. It was a mission that they had, and everybody was on the same page, and it was
Yeah.
pretty cool to watch.
Absolutely.
Well, the
Absolutely.
key was good
Absolutely.
leadership, and that's, I'm not bragging about John.
Yeah.
but they
Oh,
put,
absolutely.
I mean, that's true,
They
though.
put a top
That's
lieutenant
true.
down there and a top sergeant down
Yep.
there. With
Yeah.
John.
Well, then I'm going
You
to take
wanna
it a
work-
And
step.
I actually had a little bit of advantage of some of the guys that went down there too, because when I left the academy, I went to District 3 and I rode the Webby's, Peabody's, and the LaSalle.
Yeah.
So when housing did come along and we went down there, I knew probably 98% of the people, both good
Right.
and bad. So I was
Because
at
you
it-
have a ridiculous good memory when it comes to names.
I-
It,
Yeah, he
it
does.
is unbelievable how good his memory is.
Just prior to this starting this,
It
talking,
is-
he can rattle off.
I mean,
It
you
is-
could rattle off
Really?
people of
Oh, yeah.
you would think it's an insignificant arrest, with 5 rocks or something. He'll name every kid. Oh, that we had this kid, we had that kid.
He can tell you what people were wearing. I've never seen in my 20 years. I
amazing.
never saw
you the Rain Man?
anybody.
Are you a pretty good driver?
His,
Right? He watches Jeopardy.
yeah, it was pretty cool to see because
Yeah,
I couldn't
it was
remember
fun.
anything.
It was joy to go to work, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And John and I, like he said, we were talking earlier this week, and there were several times where people would be like, what do you guys think you're doing down there? First of all, you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
You're not going to make a dent in anything that's going on in there. So that was actually more of like a slap in the face, a kick in the rear, to where we even wanted more so to make the unit be successful because our own colleagues thought we were idiots for being in there.
And I'll raise my hand.
Yeah,
I'll
me
raise
too.
my
Yeah.
hand. I'm not
Yeah.
going to.
Me too.
Because when it started, I was like, why would somebody want to go down there? And it ended up some of the best policemen that had been around in a while all ended up down there. And I called John in, and John was one of my friends. And I was like, how'd you do that?
Well, they had the mobile background too.
I asked you to come down, Tom, and you said no. You didn't even think about it.
I'm gonna make. I have
it
to
was
make
a
a
short
point.
conversation.
I have to make a point about this. So one of our bases of this show is we're against the defund the police era. So here is 4 complexes that were totally out of control. The actual residents couldn't even use their own playgrounds. And then the police were funded by the federal government and brought in 43 extra policemen to fund the police and transition those places into comfortable places for people to live, families to live and grow and raise their children. So is that an example of why you would not defund the police as opposed to fund the police? What you guys did down there. That's my point. And I'm going home.
And I got thanks, Dan.
You dropping?
See you later, Dan.
Mic drop. Mic drop.
Here's the one story I thought of today, and it exemplifies what we kind of did down there. And you guys know, remember that older guy, Ben, that used to hang out in the Peabodys? He was like 70, and he and his buddy, he had a cane and horn rimmed glasses, and he'd been down there forever. And he and his buddy used to sit down there and drink a couple beers at night. But they were really cool to us, you know,
Right.
just like an old school guy. So one night, we've been down there, half a year or whatever, and we were sitting there. It was summer, and it was a nice night, and somebody had those speakers in the window. Brian Jost and I were sitting on the porch, and Ben and his buddy were drinking their beer, and somebody was playing the Isley Brothers on. I still remember the music, and we're sitting there just talking, and Brian looks at Ben and says, "Hey Ben, I guess you're really glad that we're down here now." And he goes, "Fuck no." He goes, "There used to be hookers down here. There used to be dice games. They used to have parties all night. They used to shoot our guns off."
You ruined it.
And then Brian's like, "Well, no, the kids can play on the playground now." And Ben's like, "I don't have no kids down here. I don't give a shit about that." But to me, Brian got all upset about it. He got his feelings hurt. I took it as a badge of honor.
Right.
Right.
That was a huge compliment.
Yeah, it was a compliment.
OG checking in saying there's no more OG activities down here.
There ain't shit.
And I know exactly what he was talking about, because when I went there as a young policeman, all of that was taking place in there on a daily basis.
Steve,
I mean, Tommy, you were in the third with me.
Those things were
It was-
off the chain.
It was. If you got a call down there, it was usually pretty much spot on.
And that was when we came out. That was before the renovation of them.
Correct.
So that thing was.
That was in '89. I came out, so you
off
were
the
right
chain.
a year ahead of me. So
But one of the things you guys had a really special case that you guys ran into while you were in housing. Steve, tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, it was kind of unique in one way, I guess. It was a Saturday morning, if I remember correctly. I know it was August of 2002, August 25th. We went to roll call that morning, and again, we worked 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we go to roll call, and in roll call, John and I believe Sean Dace was the other sergeant at the time then, and then Jerry Layshock was our lieutenant. They started talking about a murder that had happened overnight, and then, if I remember correctly, Tony Lockeneck even showed up because he was a sergeant in homicide. So what had happened was there was a Hispanic family that had left Indianapolis. They worked at a Mexican restaurant. They closed the restaurant down shortly after midnight or better. For whatever reason, they were traveling through St. Louis. They got off the highway. They were driving a Tahoe that had some, I don't know if they were really bigger wheels, but they were fancy wheels for the time. Again, back in 2002.
Right.
So they got off the highway. They wound up at Broadway and Shoto at that Mr. Fuel, where there's no attendance. You just pay by credit card and move on.
Right.
So they fill up their gas tank. They go westbound on Shoto, make a left turn to go southbound on Tucker. As they do, there was a white four-door car. It was either a Cutlass Sierra or a Buick Century. It goes by them, gets a little bit in front of them, almost to Tucker and Hickory. Car slides sideways, doors open up, everybody bails out of the car, and they unload on the front of this Tahoe with SKS. Unfortunately, 26-year-old driver of the car, he wound up getting shot in the head. He was killed immediately. There was a younger child in the car and a female in the car also. I believe they were grazed with a bullet. Car takes off. They didn't even try to take the car. Once they shot it up, they took off. So we get information about it. So Clarence and I immediately were like, we'll start knocking on doors and we'll find our people, because we had people down there that would, give us information all the time. So we found a female that we knew. We talked to her, and she's like, I'll get right back with you. So it wasn't an hour, maybe, if that, Clarence.
Yep.
She reaches out and says, hey, you need to talk to, and she provided us with a name, and for the life of me, I cannot remember it today.
The one time you forgot
something. Which is rare.
Right.
But we go meet with this guy, and he tells us, he said, hey, a couple of my buddies, I let them use my car last night, and they came back with it, and they said, hey, man, all bad, your car's hot. We did a robbery. So he takes us to his car, and it was a little bit west of the Peabodys. And it was a white four-door, either a Buick Century or Cutlass Sierra. I honestly can't remember. We seize the car, have it towed to the garage. The female who was in the Tahoe at the time of the incident, she responds to the garage, positively identifies the car. So we send our guy back out to hit the complex to see what he can find out. Short time later, we meet up with him. He gets in the backseat of our car, and we start talking to him. He's given us a bunch of information. He's given us some of the street names, and he hands us a matchbook. So on this matchbook, it looked like there was like a house, like from Monopoly or something drawn on there, and some scribble. So we're talking to him. I said, what is this? You play Monopoly or what? He goes, dude, I can't spell castle, but that's a castle. I drew you a castle because dude lives on Castle Lane. So Clarence and I are dying laughing, of course.
That's a castle.
We wind up hooking up with John and everyone, and ultimately, we did a consensus search on the house. We knew what house it was. We recovered some ammunition for an SKS, for an assault rifle. No weapons. We go about our business. We get more information that some of our suspects are actually at a house in District 6 on either Ira or Emma, at one of the suspects' relatives' house. So I know for a fact we got Tony Lockeneck then, and we all went up there. Sure enough, we wound up taking 3 into custody. Wound up getting confessions from all 3 of their involvement. They did tell us that if we were in that house on Castle Lane, we missed the SKS. So we went back, had a consent form signed by the resident. We went in, and lo and behold, we did find the gun.
Yep.
And then a couple days later, the 4th individual turned himself in. Never wound up going to trial. Guys pled guilty, and they went to prison.
That's great.
How come they never tried to rob him? They shot him up and that's crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, we don't have an answer for that at all. I don't know if
senseless.
I don't know if the other occupants of the car were able to maintain control of the car and stop it, or if it went out of control. But they basically shot it up and just took off.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but I knew as soon as homicide told us that the suspects ran into the Peabodys, I knew Clarence and Steve would figure it out. I mean, it took no time. It was like.
It's because the relationships you guys built with the residents.
Absolutely.
And they felt comfortable talking to you.
We had a lot of good information, obviously, right away. It was a long, long day, but it's what you do. You don't go home till it's over.
First 48.
It was
That's
it was a long day, Jimmy.
We solved
it was a lot of hours.
We solved it in
12, 14
12 hours.
tops.
I remember the homicide detectives who were assigned to the case, and they came in that night. I don't think they liked that I said it, but I mean, I was pretty proud, but I think I said something like, hey, we took care of this one for you.
Yeah.
hey, there's nothing wrong with
Hey,
that.
you're welcome.
Who was the mobile officer that missed the gun in the closet?
Don't say it.
It was housing.
It was a housing officer.
I know, but wasn't mobile there helping you?
No.
No, we excluded mobile on that. They
You
were
didn't need their
given
help?
they were given orders to stay out by Lieutenant Layshock. And that was the one time they actually
We knew how to
listened.
go in there. Yeah.
They didn't poach that day.
Oh my God, that's a good one.
But
That's-
again, the pride you guys took and the respect you guys got out of that is because of the way you treated everybody in there and the way you handled things. is that was a crime that you guys solved because of the way you treated people and how you guys handled that, correct, Clarence?
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Just for context, something to think about on this case. Steve had some previous, investigative bureau type experience. I did not. I came out chasing drug dealers, right? That's what I did my whole career. So different kind of approach to investigation. So that's actually the case that I'm probably most proud of because, we just kind of figured it out. We didn't have a whole lot of help. It was just us and his memory.
Yeah. He forgot 3 things tonight, though.
Well,
yeah.
I'm getting older.
That's just good street. You're a good street policeman. That's what it came down to.
It's actually kind of funny too. I haven't said anything earlier when we were talking, but I'm kind of getting a lot of my stuff together because I'm going to be retiring soon. And just this morning, I was going through some stuff, and I actually found we both got chief's letters from Chief Mocha on that.
Yep.
And I didn't even know what I was digging out of this. I didn't know what I was digging out of this box this morning because I was actually looking for something else. So I opened it up. I started reading it. I was like, well, it's pretty comical that I see this, and here we are tonight.
Talk about it. That's cool. It's kind of an omen.
It was a great case.
I think it tells you need to go.
And another thing, that we've touched on before, but we were able to do what we needed to do, spend as much time as we needed to spend because we had great supervisors, and John had a lot of faith in what we did, as did Jerry Layshock and Sean Dace also. I mean, you couldn't ask for better people to work for and work with. Anything we needed, if they could get it, we got it.
Right.
And that was awesome.
But the respect goes 2 ways, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, that's awesome. And then the other one, before we started recording, one of the arrests we were going to talk about was one of Clarence, a guy Clarence grew up with. And I said, Clarence, we're going to talk about the one guy you grew up with where you locked him up. And Clarence's response was, which one? And then he says, oh, yeah, that one.
Hey,
So tell us about that one. Actually, tell us about growing up a little bit and then the fact that you did lock up a lot of people you grew up with.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not happy about that. I just want to be clear about that.
That's something that like a guy like me never had to work. I mean, friends of mine got locked up, but I wasn't patrolling their areas all the time.
Right.
Yeah, man.
I got locked up for weed.
It was different because I grew up in Laclede Town and grew up with a lot of amazing people. But man, from the time I was 7 years old, I wanted to be the police. And ironically, I kind of lived in a neighborhood that you couldn't tell anybody.
Can we expound on that a little bit? I mean, I heard you tell that story before. Why did you want to be a police at 7 years old? I've always felt called to it. So it's when I was like 3 years old, my grandfather, he was putting windows in our house, and I put this towel around my neck, and I ended up falling through the window. Right, I should have been dead, but I fell through this window, and I got 100 and something stitches, but I just always felt like I was a superhero. Like, that sounds a little corny, but
I was hoping that the towel saved the
Batman don't have shit on Clarence.
I did not. No. And here's another part of the story. Back in the old 5th District, they used to walk foot beats. Well, my grandfather had the local corner store. It was all kinds of stuff happened in that store that I just cannot talk about, right? But these two officers, detectives, was always in the neighborhood looking for whomever. And you know who it was? It was Ron Clyer and Mocha.
Really?
Oh, boy.
Right? I had to be 7 or 8 years old.
Two legends there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I hope I can say this, but I remember one day Clyer walking past my grandfather's store, and he had this 357 he used to carry.
Talks about that.
right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
my
like
introduction, and I was
Python,
like,
yeah.
so I one day in my grandfather's store, some guy comes running in, had just stolen a car. So the police canvassing came in. It's like, hey, anybody know where this guy ran to? So everybody in the store gets quiet. So I come from behind the counter. I'm like 7. The true story. I came from behind the counter and I said, hey, you looking for that guy who just ran in?
So you were a snitch at a young age. I thought I knew my partner better than that.
So, man, policing, I just always had this sense of justice and right and wrong. And,
Right.
And so growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, it is unfortunate that many times I had to either investigate or arrest people that I grew up with. But I chose, when I went into the academy, I chose, and I've never regretted that.
Now, in a situation like that, and you guys know it, so they know your first name, you know their first name.
Yeah.
How did that go to sometimes? Were they hostile towards you or?
No. So the thing that Burle and I have kind of always prided ourselves in, we did the work aggressively. We went hard after bad guys and bullies, right? But we've always prided ourselves on how we treated people, right? So there was never a place, or even now when I run into people that I grew up with. I'm friends with a lot of those guys on social media, man. It's all love, right?
Yeah.
They understood that this is an honorable job, and we were out there making it safe for all of them included. So
That's pretty cool.
And then there was the case of Allie Harper, but that was a good case because the investigation that you guys did, it was just a cool investigation, and unfortunately, it was against a friend of yours.
yeah, I'll let Burle
Not
talk
a
about
friend.
that.
I shouldn't
but-
say it a friend. But
Well,
an
I mean,
acquaintance.
yeah, man. I grew up with this family, and ironically, it was always weird when we would be in these investigations, especially narcotics, and there was rarely a time when somebody that I grew up with, went to school with, sometimes played ball with, where their names didn't come up. But man, integrity's always been important to me, and the truth is, I didn't even mean to say this, but man, my community, man, I don't want to start crying right now, but
Okay.
I don't want to, but man, I've seen drugs hurt my family.
Right.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
It hurt my family, man.
Right.
And it destroyed some people that I love. And so for me, it was worth it because I made a promise to myself.
It was personal.
And the guy, you may have heard this story. One night, somebody knocked on the door, robbed me and my mother. So I spent 20 years, man. I said, I know what it felt like to be robbed at gunpoint, seeing people that I love deteriorate, and seeing people who said they were for the community destroying it with drug sales. I just wanted to do what I could. That was my contribution to try to right some of the wrongs of some of the things that I saw growing up that made me weep.
That was
Well
very
said.
touching. That was something that was on your mind, and that was good. I don't care about the question that I asked you. That was cool.
Yeah.
We'll let Burle talk about how you guys locked up your friend.
Producer John we didn't talk about that, so I don't know where that came from. But Burle, talk about the case, bro.
That's tough to follow up, right?
Right.
There.
That was good. Now I'm just going to go talk about lock. He's talking about saving the community. You're talking about locking people up.
I'm ready to go order a pizza and another drink. Well, the Allie Harper case, that was definitely one that it definitely stands out, and it will for forever, as far as I'm concerned. We were in the Violent Crime Task Force, which was a plainclothes unit. In that particular unit, at that point in time, our sergeant was Joe Spees, who, as far as I'm concerned, 35 years on this job, I think Joe Spees is probably one of, if not the best investigators
Mount Rushmore
you could ever have the pleasure of knowing, let alone working for him.
Can we cut
This
this
hurts
out?
my feelings.
I'm serious.
I mean,
Jack,
you guys
Mount-
book that time and cut that
I
shit.
know,
Mount-
I agree.
you guys are
Mount
good friends with Joe.
Rushmore.
We're joking.
But
We're
I'm telling
busting
you
balls.
what, Joe
We're
Mount,
kidding.
Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore, man.
and Joe never mistreated the guys that worked under him.
No.
You know, he would give you suggestions, but he would never be like, "You're going to do it this way or else." I mean, that
He
was
told me
awesome.
that all the time.
Jimmy, you're an exception. You're an exception to every rule, Jimmy, for some unknown reason.
You were a
I don't know
challenge.
why, Jimmy, but so the Allie Harper case, we got information relative to Allie Harper that he was selling a lot of crack cocaine. So we work him up, find out that he lived at 2125 South 12th, directly behind McGurk's and 2 or 3 doors down from Tucker's in Soulard. So information we received was he had 2 vehicles. One was a 4-door Lexus, golden color, and one was a 4-door Chevy Lumina, light blue in color. Said if he's out in that Lexus, he's clean. He's not doing anything. He's just out for the night. If you ever see him in that Lumina, he's either going to, picking up, what have you, with drugs. So we work him up the best we can. Again, we had this CI that was into him. We start following him, doing everything we can with him. Lo and behold, we set up a deal to buy 1.5 ounces of crack from him. So the meet spot was the old National Supermarkets at Grand and Magnolia, across from Tower Grove Park.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got multiple cars, all plainclothes, and a lot of detectives from our unit. We actually had Michael Keefe, who was a city detective. He was assigned to DEA at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He had a few of his guys out helping us. So we go up to do the deal, and we're sitting up, and next thing you know, Archie Shaw, who we all know so well, Archie's like, "Oh, hell no." One of our cars with 2 of our detectives are sitting on the parking lot where the deal's supposed to go down. There's no way to get their attention because they don't have a radio up where it will be seen or anything. So lo and behold, Allie pulls on the parking lot, sees the car, gets a little hot, so he drives away. CI starts banging him on the phone, He answers. He's like, "Hey, man, there are police all over up there." He says, "Fuck you. I ain't coming back up there." So we follow him for the entire day. Lo and behold, at some point during the day, he goes 3900 block of Botanical, Cleveland, one of them over there by just north of Tower Grove Park. Goes in, comes out a little while later. He's got a female with him. Takes his female. They get in a car and they go to a clinic over off of Forest Park Avenue.
Clinic.
We later find out that he took her there for an abortion.
Okay.
But it gets better. He was a great guy. He took her to dinner afterwards at White Castle at Vanaventer and Shoto. So takes her there in the drive-thru, gets food, takes her home, drops her off. From there, he goes immediately down to 2nd and Shoto. There's a storage facility there. We got eyes on him the whole time. He goes into the storage facility. Obviously, we can't get in there with him. We do have people that know what building he went to. So Joe Spees winds up, he has Clarence stay on that storage facility. So Allie leaves there. He comes up. We ultimately do the deal over off of a Channing and Cook area right there where, off of Grant, it's Cook, but then it turns into Channing up in the Blue Myers. So he sells our guy 1.5 ounces. So we let him go. We follow him. We take him off. We had a state level search warrant for his house. So we go back. We're going to do the house. While we're doing that, Michael Keefe gets everything ready for a federal search warrant for the storage locker. So we wind up at the house. I believe at the house we got an AK, some money, and a pistol or 2. We wind up hitting the storage locker later that evening. Again, it was a real long day. We go in there and we open the locker that he had rented, and there was like a twin-size bed, a roll-up bed, and it's actually folded up and kind of wired shut with like a baling wire. So we open it up, and when the bed flops open, we have a little brown shopping bag, and we got a little over 3/4 kilo of crack cocaine, 2 or 3 pistols, and I want to say $20,000 roughly. So it was
Hey,
very
that's a good day.
important. It was very important that we stayed on the way we did. We didn't know anything about the storage locker. until we followed him.
Well, and you're going back quite a few years. Storage lockers were not big. They had their, and then they started getting big.
Yeah, at that time, I think I don't think we had ever.
This
that
was even
was
before housing. You know,
yeah,
this
it was before
housing.
like this storage locker. When we followed him there, this was nobody was doing that. Like he was way ahead of. He was way ahead of the game with the storage locker. But what Burle, so just for context, we had never really, we were just doing all quick hitting stuff, mobile type stuff, right? Just
Mobile,
most
Jimmy.
of our arrests
The
were,
real easy, low-hanging fruit stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like that anybody could do.
well,
City
yeah.
summonses.
So, yeah, easy stuff.
You guys
So-
are ripping on a unit you started it.
I know, Jimmy. We're just giving you trouble.
Man.
But at this time, you know, Joe Speece was one of the first people that I actually heard. We were in the Violent Crime Task Force. So at that time, we were just specifically going after people with guns, right? That was our approach to violent crime. Hey, these guys are shooting at everybody. They're going to have a gun, right? They're going to have a gun for protection. Well, when Speece came, he was the first one who said, hey, if we're going to attack violent crime, we've got to attack the drug trade. I mean, he was the first one who did that. And he said, we have to start building these cases. And ironically, we had no idea. He started saying things. I was like, what is a bumper beeper? I have no idea what that is. Like he's saying all this, but he was such a great supervisor, man. He was patient. So we were literally learning how to make big cases on the fly. What was cool about Steve was instinctively very underrated investigator. He's just really good. You would have never known that was in fact that was our first big case, because everything just came together, and so we learned literally on the fly.
Nice.
Yeah, there was talk about doing a search warrant. Clarence like, how the hell you do a search warrant? I mean, we didn't. It was so long ago, you know, that we were green with all that, but we've done several since.
Now we're big on family here on the show, and your son Matt, right?
Yes.
And he's on the police department. And then talk a little bit about Matt, because we do like father-son stories, and I know you're proud of him.
I'm super proud of him. He's coming up on 16 years.
Jeez.
10-year-old.
He was in the 5th District. Spent time up north, patrolled the 6th District. He probably did about 8 years in the anti-crime special ops unit. And obviously in that unit, it's a totally different ballgame. I mean, it's especially with today's day and age. He was involved in multiple shootings, you know, throughout his career. Thank God he came out on the right side. I was very fortunate at one point in time to go to the Medal of Valor luncheon. And he not only got one, but he got two.
Yeah, that's cool.
You talk about a proud dad. I was like walking on clouds that day.
Right. JJ's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
When you
I want to say it was last summer. Burle working the detail downtown, and Burle's working, and his son's working the same detail. And it was at the end of the night, and his son was driving down off of Shoto, right there below Lenore K.
Yeah, he was at Lenore K. and Shoto.
It was at the end of the night, and some car comes blasting through and hits their police car, knocks it on the side. And he's working, and it's his son in the car with his partner, and they get T-boned in the car. We get their cars up on its side, or was it on the roof?
It was on its roof, and he was still in the car when I got there, and
Right.
I was coming from 70 and Grand.
damn.
I don't know if my tires were on the ground. I heard him when he keyed up. It was like 135, 140,
Right.
and we were due off at 2.
Right.
Damn.
And he didn't use call signs. I guess he was, you know, obviously he was so amped up. He's like 8408 emergency. Well, I know that's his DSN.
Right.
And I heard that, and I was riding with Lindsay Anderson, who I work with, and we both look at each other and we're like, "Holy shit!" I go, "That's Matthew," and I just put the car in drive and took off.
I just remember getting
And-
that scene and thinking, man, that's the worst. You know, he's working with his son, and hears that. That's one of the worst things you can hear.
And he was fine.
Oh yeah.
He wound up.
missed
He
some
was
days.
out of work for about a month and a half, but I mean, ultimately,
Right.
he was,
And we were in a certain era. All of us were in the same era. and you guys both have sons in the same era.
Yes.
And it's kind of neat to see, your sons kind of picked up what you guys were doing, because they were both great policemen. Both got two meritorious awards, if I'm not mistaken, each.
Yeah.
And that's really cool that both of you have sons on the police department that have achieved such great stuff.
Yeah, that's legit.
Well, like I showed you guys that picture earlier before we started this. I'm 35 years on. He's got roughly 16 on. I've tried to go to D.C. several times for the police week. He wound up reaching out to Eric Bonita from Homicide, who's kind of in charge of that now. He's like, hey, it would be awesome to go to D.C. He goes, this year, my dad's going to have his 35th anniversary. He's retiring. He goes, what better way to go than to go with my dad?
Mm-hmm.
So we both submitted a memo requesting to go, and we were picked. And it was such an awesome event, but to be there with my son was just absolutely.
That's a great way.
Incredible.
That's a great way to end your career.
Oh,
I mean,
incredible.
I know you're ending it soon. You're not over yet, but
no, about
that's a great
35
way.
days, 40. I'm leaving in October.
Wow.
But
You got any drop mic stuff you want to say? Never mind.
No.
Not yet.
He's got a son.
No.
Never mind.
I'll tell you,
You got a son on.
Hey, I'm telling you though, his experience in Memorial Week in DC, I've been there with my son. It is unreal. Everyone needs to go there, even if
Yes.
you're not a policeman, and experience that.
That's cool.
It is super cool.
it's absolutely incredible.
But I want to ask, and Clarence tried to leave at 20 years. And if you weren't successful at it, and it's drawn you back in, and you are now the director of the police academy. And I just want you to talk a little bit about when you retired and how you came to doing what you're doing now, and how special that is to you.
Yeah. So I retired in 2012, and I was actually supervisor in narcotics. So as I like to say, man, I actually started planning for my exit. I wasn't mad. I wasn't angry. I didn't. I just left on my own terms. And while teaching at the police academy, while I was here, I just discovered that, man, I just love training and teaching. Right. And that's what I wanted to do, help shape young minds. And so I left to actually, and I was an educator. I taught criminal justice at North County Tech, and I did that for 10 years. But honestly, man, I had no plans on returning, but kind of post Ferguson, I started. I got to a place, man, where I didn't feel like our city was safe, and honestly, and not because of the officers who were here, right? I think there was some maybe policies that hurt, and so my reason for coming back, I didn't know what I could do, but just sitting at home weeping, I knew I wanted to do something, man, because I love policemen that much, and so I was fine in retirement. I was enjoying retirement, but the sense of duty and calling, it got louder and louder, and so when asked to be the director of the academy, I would not have gone back just to be the director of the academy. Actually, those 10 years in teaching, I developed a skill set that I think is actually helping. So I think I like to say I went away to get something that our department needs, and I learned it, and so that's what we're doing now. So some innovative training type things. So that's kind of what that's back. My goal is for us to have the most well-trained, disciplined, servant, community-oriented policemen that we can develop.
How's recruiting going?
Yeah, so great question. Actually, our recruitment numbers are up 50%. So we've
Since when?
So we launched a recruitment campaign May I think 13th. And since that time, we've gotten almost 200 applications.
Okay, nice.
Right, 200 applications, and we're hoping for 3 classes in 25 with at least 30 in each class.
Aren't you going to have a class in September?
Class in September, we're hoping for 30. Hopefully we'll have a class in December, but recruitment is actually going very well. We've been very strategic in what we've tried to do.
Tell everybody about the podcast. We're very positive on here, okay? Tell all the people at the recruiting tables.
He's
and
on it. He's going to say, hey, you need to watch this
Come on,
podcast
you need to
now.
watch this podcast.
Hey, all my friends, hey, watch this podcast.
No, you need to tell the recruits.
Oh, the recruits. Oh, yeah. That's,
You know what? And you said something earlier, and I wanted to emphasize it then, but I never had a chance, but I am now. You said the camaraderie you had when you were in the unit with housing and mobile, and that's I think it's a big push for recruiting, because we talked about it here tons of times about being part of a team, being an athlete, you're part of a team, and I'm reiterating this again, but I think that's huge for people out there that are kind of lost in the world. They graduated college, you don't know what they want to do. Being a part of a team, and there's nothing like being a part of a team as being a policeman.
family.
And doing that police family, I'm telling you, but being a part of a team every day, going out with you didn't know him from Adam, so now you became best friends, you're partners. You didn't know each other. I'm guessing you didn't know each other before you became policemen. You became tight, and your crew, and that going to work every day with your buddies ain't nothing better than that, brother.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Except if you go to a podcast, it sucks.
We rode together for about 7.5 years in the various units, and I have 2 kids. He has 2, and me, my wife at the time, my kids, him, his wife, and kids. We would go do dinner. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we went to the Ozarks one weekend or something and shopped together. And I mean, we did all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And you know what? By far, one of the best guys I ever rode with on this department, and we became extremely tight. I've actually reached out to him a few times when I was going through some pretty rough stuff. And had it not been for him and the 15, 20 minutes he gave me on the phone, I don't know where the hell I would have wound up.
Right.
Not at all. It was tough. And he was there for me. And he knows if he picks up the phone tomorrow, I'm going to be there.
Right.
Yeah, I think I was going to say that as well, that I think, so we were partners for 7.5 years. That's every day. That's a long time to be
That was a 30-year career.
partners. But
I'm just going to interrupt you real quick about being partners. Being partners and friends. You're with each other 8 hours a day.
2
You're
feet
with
from
each other
if not more.
4 hours after work a lot of times.
yep,
Yeah.
You're with each other on the weekends.
yep.
Now, we all love our wives. And we all, dude, I tell you, JJ's about to get a divorce, but anyway.
No, I just know I know where he's going.
No, but you spend more time with your partner than any other person you do in life.
Absolutely.
And it's just special. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think, just like any relationship, over time, people, I think people, you kind of evolve, even in your thinking.
Right.
And so the thing about that's been special with me and Burle is some of the most challenging times in his life that I was one of the people that he called, man. I think that I've always thought that was
speaks
very
volumes.
cool. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There was no one else I even thought about calling.
Right.
I was like, he better answer his phone. If he sends me the voicemail, I'm gonna kick his ass.
So-
and it's also funny, Tommy. Just today, I ran into my daughter and, of all people, my ex-wife.
Oh, boy.
And I told them I was coming here tonight. And the first thing both of them said, "Get a picture with Clarence and send it to us. We love Clarence. We miss him."
That's
and
cool.
that. I've been divorced from her for well over 20 years.
That's cool.
But that's the friendship we made way back then, and it's still
It's making a difference.
Yeah,
when
it's
you make
awesome.
a difference, and Clarence will make a difference in people's lives, and as you did with his. One last thing that I want to bring up is that Clarence is a author. He wrote a book here. It's called Faith, and Clarence Clarence has been a great policeman, been through a lot of stuff, seen a lot of stuff, and you are deeply. Your faith is very, very important to you. and you are an actual pastor, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
So tell us a little bit about that and your book.
Yeah. So, long story short, man, I think we can all agree that there's parts of this job that cost us more than we want to pay, right? Just some of the things that we see, like even things with kids, seeing victims, just all these things. And at some point, I think why I had seasons where I felt like we were helping, but my reality is I entered into a season of hopelessness. And so, it was, I leaned and turned into faith. And it is what helped me, because I almost left policing because it just got overwhelming for me. And it started costing me at home. It started costing me with my children and just everything that I loved. And so I started to wonder if it was worth it. Well, my relationship with the Lord, man, it just built me up. And so the book, the whole source of the book is to help officers to do the job in a way. It's just encouragement. It's stories from the Bible to help officers to know that they can be law enforcement, be the police, do the job at a high level, serve at a high level, and still maintain their faith, right? And I think the heart of the book is to really, really lean into the fact that God loves police officers. He uses them for his greater plan for our community.
And Archie was saying that last week when he was talking about his shooting, that the Lord picked him up and did what he needed to do to keep Archie around and make a difference. And I didn't have my glasses on at the time. So the book is called Faith, Behind the Blue Wall, Finding God's Love and Divine Purpose in Law Enforcement. And that's cool. And that's a lot better title than I just said, Faith.
And Tom, it's a small book, so you'll be able to read it with no problem.
I love Clarence.
What do you think about 6
and
months?
I love his faith, but this would take me about eight years to read.
Yeah.
Clarence, I have that book on my desk in my office.
I hope others will read it. And essentially it's just hope and healing for police officers, and it's written for their families as well. Because we don't talk about that a lot, but it not only cost us, it often cost our family as well. So
Yeah.
And I like what you said, Clarence, on the phone the other day. Is this, and I think this is very important, especially for younger officers that might be listening. Is there's routes, because all of us at this table, at some point in your career, you freak out because you see so much messed up stuff, and all the times we cheated death, and we think like, I shouldn't even be driving home tonight. But you want it to have like a safety valve for officers, because nobody wants to go to their sergeant and said,
right,
and tell, bare their soul. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we've come a long way with regard to resources for officers and made it easier for officers to be transparent about how they're feeling. So I want to be clear about that. At the time that I wrote this, officers were not invited yet at this time to say that you're hurting or struggling. And so we just kind of soldiered on. But after some very violent encounters for me, that justice was truly served in every possible way, there's still those residual feelings that can come. And so I think at some point along your career where you can lose that sense of purpose, right? You can actually literally lose that why we do what we do. This book is really all about helping us recenter and refocus that this thing of ours, this police thing, this servant thing, this justice, true justice, that God is a God of justice, and he stands with and for those who are doing justice. And I didn't know that. And when I learned that, I just wanted to share and encourage officers that the work that we do matters. The work that we do matters.
Absolutely. And it's
That's
funny
crazy,
that,
man.
that the Burle is that road with a future pastor is funny in and of itself. Burle?
I think he's going to be a pastor now.
I've said that countless times.
Right.
But you know what? Through it all, again, we're buddies, and
Great.
I don't
like
care
you
what
said,
he
you're
needs.
down.
I'm there, and vice versa. And
When you're
same
down and out and you need
same
somebody
way
to
with
call.
you guys here. I mean, we've known each other. Tommy, you and I have known each other 35 years. John, 25, 30 years. Jimmy, same. Dan, the same. And you know what?
Yep.
If you guys called me tonight at 2 a.m., I'll be there.
Yeah,
and
no
I know
doubt.
vice versa would be the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you guys, let's just wrap this up. And I came up with that Crockett and Tubbs at the last minute. But I kind of like it now. It's better than Snap and Pop, isn't it?
I kind of like that.
Snap and Pop. That was Troy
It's
Miles.
better than
one
Snap
of our
and
buddies
Pop,
from the
but,
Peabodys.
Great guy.
No, I appreciate you guys coming by, or we all appreciate you guys coming by. And partners are just cool stuff. I mean, lifelong
Absolutely.
partners. And even though, like you guys said, 7.5 years turned into a lifetime friendship.
Yep.
No, absolutely. I probably speak for Clarence when I say this, but we're extremely grateful and thankful you guys even called us and wanted us to come on.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I've been watching
very
from
honored.
I've been watching from day one. I think
Yep.
it's it's incredible.
Good
Partners
stuff.
are cool.
Good
Thanks,
stuff.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.